Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So it might be another odd jobbing video. I don't know, see how the week goes. But first job we've got is this bucket is in for the brackets changing on the back. So this bucket is designed for chopping fodder beat up. So it has a hydraulic motor on that end that drives this auger, and then on the end of the auger there's a sprocket and then another sprocket, and then these drum things here that spin round, and the auger forces the sugar beet or fodder beet out into these rollers, and it chops it up into like little lumps, and then the sheep can eat it. Yeah, so you scoop up your beet, tip the bucket up, it's back, set it going, and it chops it up and spits it out at that end. But the customer sold the bucket, and part of the deal in him selling it was it'd get the right brackets put on for the new customer. So yeah, it's my job to change the brackets. So it's on Merlo brackets at the moment. That's what these ones are. And originally it's been on pin and cone brackets, and someone's chopped the top ring off and then welded them Merlos on. And now I need to chop all that off and put JCB Q fit brackets on. So I'm going to arc gouge them welds off. I'll get these off first, and then I'll come down and gouge this bit off. I think it'd just be easier if I take them brackets off first rather than trying to take all that off in one go. And this tongue in the middle is also to come off. And then these straps here should be in the right place to weld the new brackets on. But I'll have to check, I have to work out what angle the new brackets need once I've chopped these off. But rather than leave these bits on, it'd be easier just to put the angle in the brackets when I cut them out, rather than trying to make a bracket fit around that. Plus JCB brackets are a lot longer, so they'd be sticking out a lot further. It's just better to get rid of it all and start from fresh. So I always get comments about arc gouging and how does it work. So I'm using 8mm rods, and these are like carbon rods, and they've got, I'm guessing it's like a copper coating, and then you put them in this special torch. It's a bit like a stick welding torch, but if you look in there you can see them 3 holes. So you clamp your rod in there and you make sure them 3 holes are pointing in the same way as your rod, and then your rod makes like an electrical arc which melts the metal, and then the 3 holes in the torch, once you've connected your airline, it blasts air down sort of like the back of the rod where you're pointing, and it blows the molten metal away. So it's a bit like stick welding but in reverse. Instead of laying metal down, you're blasting it away. So yeah, I'll get them gouged off. Right, that's that side off then. So you can see it's had another bracket welded on there before, so the brackets that I weld on will be like the 4th set of brackets this bucket's had on in its lifetime. Yeah, they gouged off not too bad. Looks like I've dug in a little bit deep. It's quite hard to gouge. Well, it's quite hard to be good at it, basically. It's easy enough to do, but it's hard to be good at it, which I suppose is the same as anything. But yeah, trying to keep consistent so your arc is going like a constant arc and not stopping and starting is quite difficult. And then you can sort of watch behind the arc to see where the separation line is, but then it's still quite difficult to know where your base metal is and the metal that joins up to it. So it's hard to know if you're digging in too much. And I don't really do enough of it to be real good at it. So that's why I like to keep having a go and get practiced, get a bit of practice in. It's off next because it was a bit awkward. It was in the way a bit when the cable coming out of the torch. So I'll get rid of that, and then I've got a free run to gouge that one off. Right, that's that side off as well. So that was easy enough. They were full of water with them. When they got down to the bottom, it started squirting water out. So obviously they haven't been welded on that brilliantly. The whole bucket has not been made that well by the look of it. There's like 2 runs of weld all the way down there for some reason. Look at that. Whether that's been an add-on or whether that's been on from new, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'll give that a clean up with the grinder now, get rid of the remaining bits of weld. Right, so that's all cleaned up now, everything's ground down. I'll have to clean it up a bit more, clean the paint off where the new brackets are going to go, but I need to work out what the brackets need to be now. So I have to sit the bucket so it's flat on the, so like the floor of the bucket is parallel with the ground, and then see what degrees the back of the bucket is. Usually a JCB Q fit bracket, or JCB Q fit bucket is about 60 degrees in the back, depending on manufacturer, but that's not usually what they are, 60 degrees. But because this bucket is not designed for loading, you know, it's not designed for tipping out, it's just designed for scooping up and then tipping it back and then chewing everything out through the side. It wants more crowd back, wants more tip back than it does tip forward than a normal bucket. Yeah, because you're not going to be scooping stuff up and then tipping it back out again. So yeah, I'll put it on the level, see what it is, and then I'll work out, or decide whether to put a bit of a kick in the brackets, give the brackets a bit more angle to help it tip back more. I might sit it on the trestles and tip it back to sort of what looks about tip back enough. I can't do it sat on the floor because of this slot, so I sit it on some trestles and then I can tip it back to what I need. Yeah, so with that sat flat on the concrete, it's at 52 degrees, 52.2 degrees. Right, so I've got that tip back on an angle now, and I'd say that was about the angle it wanted to be at sort of floor level. Then the further you lift the boom up, then the more you can tip it back. But when the boom is like at floor level, the headstock is sort of like 90 degrees near enough to the floor. So it's sort of tipping back on itself a little bit. So the brackets do want a bit of an angle in them. Actually, because of how the floor's designed, it goes down, then it sort of levels out a bit. And if that bit of floor there is not on enough of an angle, the beat are not going to go into the auger. The Merlo buckets are about the same degree in the back, they're about 80 degrees. And I've just checked this angle here on the old bracket, and it's about 15 degrees difference from like straight on the back of the bucket to where it was onto that extra bit. So I think that the brackets that I'm going to cut out, I'll put an extra 15 degrees in them, and then it'll be the same geometry as what this bracket was. Right, so here is a bracket, JCB Q fit bracket that I had drawn previously, and then I've only added 10 degrees on, because if you add 15 degrees on, there's a lot down at the bottom here, a lot of extra metal. So 10 degrees should do it. So yeah, I'll get that saved, open it up in the Kutavar software, and then I'll bring some 30mm plate in, and then get 2 of them cut out. Right, so I've got the plate changed over. It's actually 25mm plate, it's not 30. I've run out of 30, so 25mm adequately thick enough for these brackets. I need to swap the torch over onto the gas torch rather than the plasma torch. My plasma will cut 25mm, but it's just more reliable and better with the gas torch. I struggle for electric. Well, I know I say this every time, but yeah, I don't have enough electric to run the compressor and run at 25mm or flat out with the plasma for long before electric trips out. On anything over sort of 25mm, gas torch does a better job than a plasma anyway. So yeah, got my bottle connected up, swap torch over, and then get them cut out. cutting that at 460 millimeters a minute. Got 2.5 bar on the low pressure, 6 bar on the high pressure, and not very much nothing. Right, that's them cut out. So I'll dig them out and then I'll have to wait for them to cool down. But I can give them a clean up and then they're ready to weld on. Cut the holes out as well, saves me having to drill any holes, saves a lot of time. Right, so that's what that's cut out like. Like I said, that's absolutely perfect. The top edge is as sharp as the bottom edge. Sometimes you see when people flame cut, they get like a rounded edge on the top, which means the flame is too hot. But when the top is as sharp as the bottom, then you know you're about right. That one's the same. And the hole's bang on as well. And that bottom edge there, you can see how sharp that is. So yeah, you can't beat flame cutting, I don't think. You'd need a very expensive and big plasma to cut that as nice as that. Right, that's all them cleaned up, and I've countersunk the hole with this little thing. Yeah, I'll bring the bucket back in now and then we'll get these tacked on. Right, so I've got the bucket back in now. So welding the brackets on is not going to be as straightforward as it would be with a normal bucket. So what you do is you sit the brackets on the back and you measure sort of down from the top and up from the bottom and get your brackets in the middle and do the same on both sides. And that's obviously what the person had done that welded the Merlo brackets on that I've just cut off. I'm not sure who put the old brackets on, whether the customer did or not, but I've had this bucket in before, after them brackets had been put on, and for some reason the bucket edge was touching the concrete at this side, but it wasn't at that side. So when they were trying to scrape up with it, the whole edge wasn't touching the ground and it was missing, sort of, well, that much at one side. So you can see what I had to do to sort it out. I had to chop down that floor, jack it apart, and then I've welded a wedge in to make up the difference of how much the brackets were out. So now you can see I've got the edge flat on the concrete. So what I need to do now is tack one bracket on where I want it, and then I'll have to measure down from there to the floor and set the other one up the same. So the brackets are level with the floor rather than level with the bucket. Because I'm not sure whether these have been an add-on or something is not quite right with the bucket to why it's out. So if I square everything with the floor, with the concrete, then we should be near enough. See, I've done all sorts of different repairs on it in the past. I had to renew all that side and it's just not very well made. So yeah, I'll be glad to see the back of it. Right, I've got them brackets tacked on now, so they still aren't squaring up yet, but I've got them tacked on height-wise, and we're near enough there. It's 0.36 of a degree off, but it's not enough to worry about. It's not worth knocking a bracket off to lift it up a tiny amount to tack it back on again, so yeah, that'll do. Then when you measure from the bottom, there's like 35mm. And look where my thumb is now, so there's like 15-20mm difference. So that's where the previous person went wrong when they put the brackets on. So yeah, I'll get them squared up so they're right that way. Put a few more tacks on them, and I'll stick the bucket up at a better angle and then weld them on. So I've just put this bit of round bar through the pinhole as well, just to check, as a final check. And when I measure down the concrete. From there we get 780. And we measure at this end. We get 785, so we're 5 mil out over a 3 metre length of round bar. So yeah, I wouldn't have said we were bad at that. Oh, we're near enough anyway. We're not building a spaceship. Right, so I've got that lifted up so it's level. I've got a prop welded in there and another bit to support that, and then I've also got the trestle welded onto the side, so it's still on the forklift, so that shouldn't fall back that way. All the weight's that way anyway, so it shouldn't fall over that way, but I've got a trestle under there. So yeah, we're getting these welded on now. I'll weld across the ends first, stop them pulling, and then we'll weld straight down either side. Right, so that's them welded on then. So without flash, just your average welds. Yeah, that's them on. I don't need any more weld than that. So yeah, that's ready for a JCB now. I'm not going to paint it. I'll let the customer paint it because he just wanted them doing. He just wanted a cheap job doing because it was sort of in with the deal when he sold it. So keep the price down. He can put some paint on. I'll show you the welds a bit closer up. I know people like to look at the welds. I think there was about 250 amp. Maybe could have done with a bit more power on, but they'll be fine and they'll never come off. Yeah, that's that bucket done. Right, on to the next job now. So it's a bit chilly this morning, but it's a good job I got my new hat. So I went to Euro auctions yesterday, just for a day out. I got a freebie, so pleased with me free hat. It's a pretty good day out, to be fair. It's not often you see that much machinery all in one place. Like there's rows and rows of diggers and forklifts and wagons and tractors and engines. There's everything there. I didn't actually buy anything, but there's a JCB TLT 30D that'd make a good project, and it'd be useful as well. So that sells tomorrow. Might see how much that makes. Right, so I think we'll end that video here. I have been recording what else I'll be doing this week, but I think I'll keep some jobs as backup in case I go on holiday or over Christmas. If I'm not doing much over Christmas, then I can still make a video. So yeah, that's all for this week. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.